Exercise 4. Let's start. It is seen from the year that the marketable surplus of the marginal farmers is directly linked to the rates to be given for their products. We see here that whenever the Agricultural Prices Commission advises the government to fix the prices, the economists say that it will create inflation and that there will be transfer of resources from the urban to the rural population and so on. I do not know what actually it means, but the difficulty is that they are not giving proper prices to the farmers for their products for that purpose. If the marketable surplus is to be taken from farmers, then care has to be taken particularly with regard to the distribution of land, whether it is in Delhi or anywhere else in this country, so that proper relationship is maintained whereby marketable surplus is made available. Now, I do not want to go into the question of small farmers and large farmers. My honorable friend on the other side has given out his own views, but very recently we have seen some Russian experts expressing the opinion that small farms are not productive to the extent desired and that they require a different type of services to see that the small farmers are productive in our country. But in Japan, we see that the small farms are productive. Somebody talked about tractor prices. We see that the prices of fertilizers, oil, and so many other inputs have increased to such an extent that to the farmer who is going to get such land out of this surplus land to cultivate it and make it an economic and viable unit requires some efforts for giving him incentive prices per. In this connection, I want to refer to other agencies, small farmers and medium farmers societies. Now, the scheme of rural banks, the efforts of the nationalized banks and the cooperative banks are there. With all this, still the problem is so much that mere distribution of land will not be the solution for keeping rural indebtedness under control. For that purpose, I think more risk-oriented capital has to be put in subsidy on agricultural inputs, incentives on mechanization scheme have to be given at such level whereby the marginal farmer or the small farmer will be induced to produce more. It is my experience that in metropolitan cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, and Chennai, you have now enacted laws for small farmers and created distribution agencies for the available surplus land, but no steps are taken for Benami land held by professionals like doctors and lawyers. Stop. Exercise 5. Let's start. I am thankful to all the honorable members who have participated in the debate. Some honorable members expressed certain reservations about some of the provisions of the bill, but all the same, it has been a brief but very interesting debate. My friend expressed certain views. I thought that his party had become wiser because of some developments in the country and because of the way the problems of land and agriculture in this country were getting solved. And my understanding was that party broadly agrees with the national guidelines on the selling laws. Once I had some talk with his leader, and I was told that the party broadly agrees with the land reforms legislation and guidelines. But opposite views I have heard just now from my honorable friend. Sir, these broad guidelines and the national sealing laws have been broadly accepted in this country as part of the land reforms, and there has been by and large a part of the land reforms, and there has been by and large a general consensus irrespective of party platforms. But while my friend spoke about the bill, though he did not positively say that he is opposed to the provisions, he expressed certain views. For instance, he thought there are certain contradictions involved in the government policies as far as land sealing laws are concerned. He asked, how is it that on the one hand the government is promoting mechanization, and on the other the government wants to have farms of 8 hectares per. Now I would like to tell my friend that as far as India is concerned, first of all, this is not a country where we can afford to have big farms. The days of big farms, absentee landlordism, and very large holdings have gone. In fact, we can claim very legitimately that one of our very proud achievements is that we have done away with landlordism, we have done away with big landlords and big estates. We want this country to be a country of small farmers. But there were certain persons, certain individuals, certain categories of persons who had in their possession very large holdings. I do not think they can have it now. But naturally, whatever may be the problems of agriculture in this country, we have tried to find solutions in its own background. We cannot follow the pattern of either the Soviet Union or America. Stop. Thank you. Exercise 6. If international experience has any lesson to teach us, it is that even small farmers can be productive. Farms can be paying farms. For instance, take the case of Japan. My friend may be aware that the size of Japanese farms is less than the average size of our farm holdings, but even then they are highly mechanized and they use small tractors and power tillers, so there is no basic contradiction. On our scheme of things, we do not contemplate that every individual should own a tractor. In fact, what we are trying to help and support in this country is that tractors and power tillers should be available either through cooperative societies or through service centers or through agro industries corporations. So there should be an institutional framework to provide adequate draft power and necessary machinery for cultivation. I do think there is any contradiction involved, but we do not think that every farmer should own a tractor. We also made a statement that there is no ceiling on income from business, and why should there be a ceiling on land? This matter has been discussed and debated in this house for over 2 or 3 decades now. The position of land availability in this country, or that land man ratio in this country, is well known. If a few persons are allowed to have large holdings, it would have created lot of tension in the countryside. It is not therefore in the interest of the country, but I quite concede that it is not possible to distribute land in the rural areas on the basis of calculation of heads. This is the other extreme which we do not want. We do not want wide disparities to prevail in land holdings. We cannot compare the agricultural sector with industrial sector. That has not been the thinking in this country. The ruling party does not have such views. He made one point with which I broadly agree. He said that while allotting land, there should be some minimum. We have advised the state governments that whatever land is allotted to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes or other landless persons should fulfill the minimum requirement in regard to the size, so that they can make out a living from that land. But when the landless persons are so many and demands and pressure are so much, the state government will naturally have to compromise on that, taking into consideration the local situation. So naturally they have to cut down the sizes of the lands whenever the people are more and land is not enough. I hope the people shall also compromise their stuff. Exercise 7. Let's start. The debate on this new constitution amendment bill, or these provisions in this bill which is under consideration, is now going on. But some people started objecting that there are certain basic changes in the constitution. They have started objecting to the passing of this constitution amendment bill, questioning whether this house has got its mandate. Let us discuss it on the basis of these points which have been raised by some honorable friends. My friends have aptly said that this house has got the mandate on the basis of the programs of the party given in 1971. I do not want to refer to all that, but if in order to uphold the constitution, in order to work within the framework of this constitution, certain changes are made in order to give relief to the poorer sections. I do not know whether is the conflict therein, and where is the question of mandate that comes in. The mandate is there. The moment this house was elected, composed of 526 members, they have their bounden duty to secure for the society justice, social, economic, and political. This is envisaged under the bill. Stop para. Whatever we going to do by this amending process, they said erosion of fundamental rights. The law minister and other members also explained that any laws passed in the furtherance of the directive principles, that is chapter 4 of the constitution, should not be challenged on any of the grounds mentioned in articles 14, 19 and 31. What are the things that are mentioned in the directive principles? The things are betterment of the society, welfare of the people, and in its totality, whatever is possible, that is to be done. I would like to add one word here. So far as these things which were not being done earlier are concerned, an attempt has been made to do them and also to see that the society marches forward both in the economic sphere and political sphere, and also to transform the society into an egalitarian society. Certain new clauses have been added for this purpose, which are laudable. But some persons have found fault with it. I do not know what is their argument. Let us take the question of erosion of the judiciary. No powers of the judiciary have been curbed. Rather, the powers of judiciary have been streamlined. Stop. Thank you.